Hey everyone, welcome back, and this is going to have to be a really quick video because of course I forgot to charge my camera. Brilliant. It's another hair video, going to be really quick, and I was basically thinking the other day about the things I've noticed that don't really go on as much since I actually started my locks, and I thought I might share this with you guys because I feel like someone might find it useful. I've kind of divided everything into pros and cons. I guess for some people, some of my cons might actually be pros, depending on what's going on. I don't know. I live in a pretty tropical climate, and one of the primary things I've noticed is that my hair can be sort of dry. Since I actually started my locks, that's one of the primary cons I've noticed, especially since it gets really hot here. It means that I have to use a whole lot more moisturizing products, like spray my hair more often with water during the summer months, use a lot more coconut oil, deep condition a lot more often, which I guess makes my hair a lot healthier in the long run. When it comes to when I actually started my locks, I think I started my hair with about chest length or something like that, but when we actually did the comb coils, everything kind of shrunk up to about a little under chin length, so that's kind of a drastic difference. And I feel like if you're starting your locks, you need to be aware of that, especially if you're used to doing blowouts and straightening your hair. When you start your locks, when your hair is natural, it's more prone to shrinkage. And what you start your locks with the very first installation may not necessarily be the length you have after the first or second wash. It will shrink up and it will tighten up on you. And it's going to be a little strange initially for the first couple of months until things get a little bit more mature, a little bit more established. And looking back at my older videos, I kind of saw where, you know, I had the original comb coils and they look so cute and fluffy and shiny, and then, you know, a couple months in, after about 8 or 10 washes, things kind of got a little bit wild and out of control. I know most people call this the ugly stage of locking, and personally I didn't really mind it, but looking back I can kind of see how if I hadn't really taken care of my hair as well as I did, it might have turned into like a freeform kind of thing where like locks started crawling together if I didn't separate them properly after each wash. Because I'm prone to washing my hair every week or every week and a half because of how warm it is here and how sensitive my scalp is, which is another con that I've noticed since I started my lock journey. It's really interesting to think because I think every girl of color who's had their mom do their hair has been through a circumstance where they're having someone do their hair and they're kind of yanking the comb or the brush through it, and you kind of get used to that rough treatment on your scalp after a while, which isn't necessarily a good thing. But if your hair is strong and healthy, it may be able to withstand all of that. But I noticed since I started my locks and I don't do as much combing or pulling, my scalp's gotten a lot more sensitive. So that's something to keep in mind. Let's see. Aside from the tender-headedness, I've noticed I have to be a little bit more careful about certain things I wear, like certain sweaters, like the sweater in particular, even though I really love it and I wear it to work since it's really cold and air conditioned at the office. I have to be really careful, like when I get home, to make sure that there isn't still lint and debris from the sweater in my locks. And I guess since I wash my hair really often, I don't really have to worry too much about having a lot of buildup in my hair. It can be problematic if you let it get out of hand, so a lot of the times I've heard people recommend that you dry your hair with darker towels. Try not to wear really fuzzy sweaters and stuff like that, or if you do, kind of brush out your locks to get that stuff out so it doesn't become a serious problem. Because I follow a couple of persons on YouTube, like Cheska Locks and Licia, and I'll leave their information in the description box below, where they've had instances where they had to trim off the ends of their locks because the lint buildup was so great that it became like the discoloration in the lock. And that's something I'm not really into, and I'm just going to keep an eye out on that. So now my favorite things, the pros of having locks. I don't really like doing a whole bunch of stuff with my hair. fairly low maintenance, even though I do occasionally like to play around with different styles and stuff like that. That's more for my own personal amusement as opposed to, you know, really always wanting to do something different with my hair. I recently colored it. It's a temporary color. It was a bright red with hot pink at the tips, and I found I like the color a whole lot more as it's faded as opposed to the really, really bright color. The faded color seems to suit my face more as opposed to the really bright color, even though it was really pretty. And let's see, there's a lot less maintenance since I've gotten my locks than when I was a loose natural. Granted, I do sometimes miss my loose natural hair. I have a bunch of friends who still have their big fros and stuff, and it does kind of make me a little bit nostalgic, but then I hardly used to wear my hair loose like they do. So even though I do miss the look on occasion, I don't really miss all the extra maintenance. Like, wash days before I got my locks used to be at least 4 hours long. That was the initial detangling before I washed it, the washing, the conditioning, the deep conditioning, and then the finger detangling afterwards, and then moisturizing it, and then going back with another detangling, and then finding out some kind of style after it's dry, and you have to fight, and you have to move, and you have to manipulate, and it was a really time-consuming process, and I'm kind of glad that I started these locks because nowadays wash day is an hour at most if I'm lazy, 35 minutes if I'm being really quick at it, like not doing a deep condition, just a simple wash, rinse, and gentle conditioning kind of cycle, and then a retwist. And sometimes I don't do the retwist on the same day that I wash. Sometimes I do it the next day when my hair is a little bit drier, and I kind of just spritz the roots that I'm retwisting and then just kind of move on from there. A little bit of oil, and I'm done. So another thing I don't miss, which is a big pro for me, is I don't have to comb or detangle or fight with my hair when it comes to like manipulating tools or anything like that. I own one comb. It's like a little rat tail comb, and that's more for just fix up the parts in the front because no one really sees the ones in the back, and that is pretty much the only time I ever use a comb. When one of my front parts is kind of crooked or it looks like it's kind of out of the line or something, and I don't really like to hurt my head with that kind of thing too often. So that comb pretty much stays in this bag up here in the cabinet, and he's very lonesome, and he's been hanging out there for the past 3 months now. He hasn't been used for a lot. So that is that. Another thing that I like is the fact that it's so easy and I could just literally get up and go in the morning. I don't have to worry about trying to fix my hair in the morning like that. I don't have to worry about styling. The most I would probably do, maybe if I'm going out somewhere fancy or I'm going to church or something, I might put a quick style in, but at most that takes like 15-20 minutes if I'm kind of struggling that morning. And if you've ever had one of those days where you're trying to do stuff with your hair and it just ain't working, you know what I'm talking about. That's another thing. Styling is fairly easy because a lot of it is flat twists or basket weaves or fishtail braids or something like that. You can style your hair like you can if it's loose natural. It's just that, well, not really like it's loose natural, but more like if you have mini twists in. Pretty much any style you can do when you have mini twists or something like that, you can achieve when you have locks, which I really like a lot because I used to rock mini twists a lot, which kind of influenced my whole idea of getting locks in the first place. Because I never really wore my hair loose, it was normally between mini twists or mini braids or some kind of flat twists or a ponytail or a bun. Really simple styles, and I always felt like they were my go-tos. So when I converted to locks, I kind of do similar styles anyway, but a lot of the time I prefer how low maintenance and easy it is to keep my locks. On top of that, there are less bad hair days. I've experienced a whole lot less bad hair days since I started my locks. It's a lot less stressful, there's less to think about, there's less to do. And if I'm feeling like I'm not really feeling my hair, I have to throw it up into a ponytail or just do a side part, kind of like what I have today, and just go about my business. Worst case scenario, headband or some kind of bandana and just hide the whole thing. And I'm okay with that because it keeps my life less complicated. Another thing I noticed since starting my locks, I feel like my hair has become a lot healthier because the times when I do actually pay attention to it, like on wash days and I deep condition, I manipulate it less, so it gives it more time to grow and strengthen itself, if that makes any sense. I've been putting a whole lot more nourishment into my hair since I've been natural, and I've been doing a lot more since I started my locks than when I was a loose natural. And I feel like alongside with not manipulating it as much, it actually helped like build the strength of my hair. So there are some pros, there are some cons, but I think in my case the pros vastly outweigh the cons when it comes to locks. So I guess if you're considering getting locks, keep these things in mind, and I'll probably link a couple other useful videos in the description box below in case anyone's interested. And I guess in the comments, if you're interested, let me know what your pros and cons are about starting a locks or having loose natural hair, because I always like having like a discussion with you guys. I have a couple of people who comment like religiously, but I do want to get to know you guys more, so don't be afraid to drop me a line in the comments. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.